Welcome, this is Professor Drew Blazik, and I'm going to go over the first module for Excel, which is the basics about subtraction, addition, and learning about relative and absolute references within cells. So if you could, you go right below and download the Excel sheet right below, and you could follow along with what I'm doing. And how I set these Excel sheets up, and you can see there you have module 1, 2, and 3, is that in the gray cell, this is where we're going to do our calculation. And if you do it correct, and this is more important later on, did we do something correct? It's going to light up green if it's entered incorrectly. So what we want to do is we're going to go into the cell, and I want to say, what is 100 plus 64? So there's two ways of doing it. Anytime you start a calculation in Excel, what you want to do is you want to start within that cell the equal sign. This means I'm going to add something. So I could type up 100 and then hit the plus sign and then hit 64. That would be the correct answer. Or what you can do is I'm going to hit equals, and instead I'm going to go over to that cell that has 100 and I'm going to hit plus, and then I'm going to find this cell that has 64. And what the benefit of this is, if I ever change these cells or the assumptions I'm making in finance, it will automatically watch. It will automatically update what that is. 100 is always that cell plus this cell. Next calculation we're going to do is a subtraction. So you want to find right above the P letter, there's a dash. That's the subtraction one. So I'm going to go into the calculated cell, and I'm going to say 37 dash, or not dash, but the minus sign. And then I'm going to hit the 7, and then that's how you subtract. Next, what we want is multiplication. So it's two areas. If you have a keyboard that has numbers on the right, there's going to be a multiplication. It's the star button. It'll be right above there. If you have a smaller keyboard, like what I have, it's going to be under Shift. You want to hit Shift 8. Shift 8 is where it's going to pop up. And just to show this, on my this is what a keyboard would look like on the side of it, and you see that there's the multiplication on the side right there. Now mine does not have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to go to 22, and I'm going to hold down Shift and hit 8. And you see if you hit Shift, it's going to be that star. And then I'm going to hit multiplied times the 18, and then that will be the correct answer. And lastly, we're going to do, of the basic mathematical operations, we're going to do division. So I'm going to say equals 298. And where that's found, if you look at the shift on the right side of the keyboard, if you look right over there, there's the question mark and a dash. Well, I'm going to hit that dash. And then if you have a separate keypad, which would be off to the side, it's right to the left of the multiplication, the dash. So I'm going to hit the 298 divided by 31, and then that's going to be 10. Okay, next what we have is AutoSum feature. So I'm going to show you a couple examples how to do this. Now I could hit Alt equals, that's for the PC. If I hit Alt and then the equal sign, that's going to automatically sum up everything above. And what does that do? That adds up 33 plus 934 plus 8 plus 22 plus 712. Another thing I could do, instead of hit Alt equals, I could hit equals, and I'm going to type in the sum function. So as you see, there's a bunch of functions that popped up when I hit sum. It is the first one. There's two ways of selecting it. I could take the cursor and double click that, and that would automatically select it. Or if it's the first thing selected, I can hit the tab button. Now I'm in the sum function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the up arrow, I'm going to hit that first cell, and then hold down Shift, and then highlight the rest. Now if it's a single function, you do not have to close it. The bracket will automatically do it, but there are times that you would want to. Another area where the sum function, if I go to the home screen here, and if I go all the way to the right under editing, there is a auto sum, and it automatically sums. That's the same thing as selecting Alt equals. And what's nice about the auto sum and all equals, it automatically sums up all numbers above that. And if you notice, it stopped before it hit the auto sum feature. So it does all the numbers in the column. All right, next what we want to show is what is relative versus absolute references. So I'm going to show you an example here. All right, we're going to look at a relative column. So a relative column would be, I'm going to select the 20 and hit enter. And then, so all I did was I hit the equal sign and I selected what was in that cell. I hit enter. And then if I hold down shift, this is important. If I hold down shift and you notice that it copied the next one down, if I hit control D, that's drop or fill down, it will automatically, and this is called a relative. What it did was it dragged the same thing I did. I said this cell equals that. I dragged it down so it automatically moved that down to the next cell. So it did exactly what it did for the next one. So that's a relative column. And if I want to shift, or I'm sorry, row, going down rows. And if I want to go to the right, hit control R. Now I go hit control R, and then that's going to move. So if I kept on going, just to kind of show this, if I kept on going, and see that's a 0, because that was a nothing there, so it's saying it's 0, equal to that part. Okay, so that's relative. Relative means whatever equation you put in there and you drag it over. And I'm going to show you a couple other ways of doing this too. So what we did was I did hold down shift and then I hit control R. That's what, if you're a finance and you're working with this stuff, you want to get used to that. Or what I could do is take my cursor and I'm going to go all the way down to that black box. And if I hold that down and then I hit the left click on the mouse or your mouse pad, I'm going to do this. It'll do the same thing. It fills to the right. Same thing if I go here. I'm going to hold down and drag it down, and drag it to the down. All right, next we got absolute column only. Okay, just a reminder, columns are the letters and rows are the numbers. So what I want to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say 20. I'm bringing that in, right? That's correct. And look, I'm going to go into that. So that cell is equaling E22, okay? And I want to teach you what is an absolute column. So what I'm going to hit is I'm going to hit the function button. Look for the FN on the bottom. And then I'm going to go all the way up on the top of my keyboard. You'll see an F4. And if I hit that, if you notice that both of those became dollar signs, okay? And what that means, if you put a dollar sign on it, it makes it absolute. So if I dragged it to the right, it will not move from that original cell that was selected. Okay, now what this is supposed to be is absolute column only. So I want you to think, what is a column? Columns are the letters, right? So I'm going to hit function F4 again. Now it's just in front of the row. I'm going to hit it a third time. Now it's a column. If I hit it a fourth time, it's off. Hit it again. It's both row. Oops, I didn't mean to hit that right there. And then hit it again, columns. So I'll show how it works. So if I go to the right, see what it did? I made an absolute column. I put a dollar sign in front of the column, which was E. Therefore, when I dragged it to the right, it was an absolute and did not move the original calculation. Here, it dragged it to the right. Whatever was above it, it dragged it to the right. Since I put a dollar sign, it did not move it. And I want to show how this works. Now, if I drag it down, it did move to the bottom cell is because I only made the column absolute, if that makes sense. I put a absolute dollar sign, which freezes anything that I'm going to the right. It will not shift. It's always going to be on E. It won't move from E. But if I dragged it down, there's no dollar sign in front of 22. Therefore, it was going to relative. It's going to move it down. All right, so we'll do the same thing. Now we're going to do absolute row only. So I'm going to go equals. I'm going to go back up to that 20 and select that in. And then I'm going to hit function F4. Oh, I want to get into that cell. I'm going to hit function F4. And you see that's a column and a row. And I'm going to hit it again. And now it's in front of the dollar, or I'm sorry, the number. These are rows. Therefore, it's going to make it absolute. If I drag it down, it will not drag down. So I'll show you how that works. So since I made the row and I'm going to drag down where rows are, it's still the 20. See, it's absolute. It's stuck on that 20. And then if I go to the right, because there is no column, it did drag to the right now because the rows are absolute and not the column. Just want to show how that works. And then the last part of our module, we're going to go to absolute row and column. And that, I kind of already showed it. So I'm going to go up to the 20, select it. Again, I'm going to, if I have function F2, just to show function F2, it automatically goes into the cell, or I could double click it to go into it, and that's editing mode. Okay, and that's worth noting. If I select a cell, I'm not in edit mode until I click it twice, or function F2, you get in there. I'm going to hit function F4. I got dollar signs in front of both, which means if I drag it to the right, it's not going to move from that 20. Right, it's going to be 20. If I drag it down, it's not going to move. It's 20. That's absolute rows and columns. Thank you for watching. That was the end of Module 1, and then feel free to go to Module 2, and I'll see you there.